Hello everybody and welcome back to the Michigan Insider, michigan.247sports.com. I'm Alejandro Zuniga coming to you from a Sunday afternoon here outside the Michigan football facilities, giving you another press conference update. Spoke today to a couple of assistant coaches. We talked to Lamar Morgan, who is the defensive backs secondary coach and defensive pass game coordinator. Also talked to Steve Kasula, who works with the tight ends on the offensive side of the ball. And got a lot of very good information on depth charts, on players who are impressing, on names we might hear more of come this fall. So we're going to start on the defensive side of the ball, where the secondary really is one of the many position groups that has a few question marks. Michigan, of course, brought in 4 players out of the transfer portal this summer to bolster their secondary depth, particularly at the second cornerback position, where they're looking for someone to play opposite Will Johnson, at nickel, where Mikey Sainristil is making plays in the NFL, and at safety, where of course Keon Sabb transferred to Alabama and Rod Moore suffered that unfortunate knee injury in spring ball. So what are the position updates? Well, we heard at the end of spring practice from Wink Martindale that Zeke Berry was leading at nickel. Turns out he's still leading at nickel, so he is battling with Jaden McBurrows for that spot, is what we learned today, and it sounds like, as of now, with a couple weeks left until the opening game, Zeke still has a hold on that position.
Yeah, I love Zeke. You know, Zeke's going to be a guy that we're going to try to play move around. He's playing high and low, so, you know, I think he's trying to take on that role of trying to be a leader. You know, sometimes I think we have some talented guys like Zeke. They just haven't played as much. So you're just building confidence in those guys' reps in when they don't feel well, you know, when their body's sore. But I think Zeke is probably the leader in that nickel role right now. J-Mac's behind him. We've been playing some of the other guys behind them, but the 2 guys that's been playing nickel the most at practice have been Zeke Berry and J-Mac. Yes, sir.
At corner, of course, Michigan has possibly, almost certainly, the best in the country in Will Johnson, someone who is a returning All-American and actually was an All-American last year when he was playing at about 70% of his full health. As you might remember from last summer, he was hurt throughout the year. He had off-season surgery last year, re-injured his leg early in fall camp before the 2023 season, and that impacted him throughout the year. You'll remember he missed the Big Ten championship game. He missed the back half of the Ohio State game. Still, 70% Will Johnson's an All-American, and they've got him at 100%, knock on wood, of course, leading up to the 2024 season. But once again, the question is, who is going to play opposite him at cornerback? It sounds like, right now at least, Jair Hill, who is the rising sophomore, 4-star out of Kankakee, Illinois, is the guy who's penciled in for that spot. Of course, with 2 weeks left until that opening game against Fresno State. Here's what Lamar Morgan said about Shug as the season approaches.
Well, I think right now you would say the early favorite would be, Shug, Jair. I think he's done a great job. He probably has a little bit of advantage of some of the guys that's in the program just by getting all the reps he got this spring football and then, now fall camp. But I think there's a constant battle. We got 2 weeks for guys to continue to make moves. Really excited about the group. We don't have to develop some guys that maybe y'all don't know about yet, and I think that's a challenge and encouragement as a coach. It's going to be a young group. I know everybody knows about Will, but all the guys behind him, there's going to be a lot of guys that's going to play hard for this university and do a great job.
And then elsewhere in the secondary, of course, replacing a Keon Sabb, who came on strong last year, and Rod Moore. Rod Moore in particular is not an easy man to replace. Not only is he a veteran and an excellent player, but he's someone who is a coach on the field, someone who could get the defense organized, who knew what was coming, who knew where players had to line up. That's not easy to replace. And from what Lamar Morgan said, it doesn't seem like one of the transfers is going to be that one-to-one replacement for a Rod Moore. Sounds more like, hey, a Quentin Johnson, who's been around the program for many years at this point, or a Makari Page, who's a returning starter, is more likely to be the guy who's going to be the, quote-unquote coach in the back half of the secondary. Here's what Lamar Morgan said about those faces in the safety room.
I think the thing with Rod is, I think it's kind of like having a coach on the field. He's a quarterback. All the stuff, the adjustments, the checks, the communications, how you see it. I think that's what Rod got. I think for me to say that one of those guys would take that role, I think that's probably more on Makari's plate or Q's plate, just because they've been here longer. I think those guys are just trying to make sure they can execute the defense build trust in the coaches and build trust in the other teammates. But I think Wes has played a lot of snaps too. I think that's one of the things that we try to do to bring guys in here as transferred that's played a lot of college snaps. Now, does that mean they're better than what we have here? I'm not sure. The games will tell that, but I think that's something where I try to value, trying to keep the culture of a room, also bringing new guys in. I want the guys with a lot of reps. So, I'm excited about Wes. He has some versatility. When he's at Georgia Tech, he played nickel. When he's at Tennessee, he played high. So he's played a lot all over the field.
Really what it comes down to in a Wink Martindale defense, as Lamar Morgan said, is that they want to be positionless. And their secret weapon is their experience. Guys like Quentin Johnson, like Makari Page, have played in a lot of snaps. They brought in transfers like Wesley Walker, like Amir Hall, who have played in thousands of snaps against Power 5 competition, or in Amir Hall's case, at the FCS level. And when you look at the coaches themselves, every single coach on the defensive side of the ball for Michigan has been a coordinator, a defensive coordinator at some point in his career. So there is a lot of experience there. The goal for Michigan as a defense, again, is to be positionless, to confuse offenses. Here's what Lamar Morgan said about that from the defensive side of the ball. And then flipping to the offense, here's what Coach Steve Kasula said about facing that in practice every day.
We haven't experimented with him there, but that's something that I think Wes is super talented. He can do, and Wink's very creative. He's going to find a role. He's going to find the top 22 kids or whatever it is, and he's going to find what role those guys are in. So we're still in that kind of development stage. We got 2 weeks, which I think is really exciting for us. I think every day we can try to find a way to get better. So we got an off day today. Tomorrow we'll get back at it, and we'll try to move as many guys as we can. We want to be a positionless defense where guys can play multiple positions. Whether it's you can move a guy in on third down, they don't know what he's doing. I think that's something with Coach Wink. He's been coaching 20 years in the NFL and another almost 20 years in college. I think that's where his specialty is, finding roles for players.
It's something that definitely puts us in the mode as an offense of being alert. Jersey numbers matter, who's standing where matters relative to formation. Whether they're standing over a tight end, a running back, standing up at receiver, what type of bodies are standing over whom. And then when you get into the more exotic personnel groupings on third down, it definitely puts us to the test, but it's great. It gets us ready for our schedule when people play multiple defensive packages, and you got to know, hey, in this situation, this guy's playing corner. Well, as soon as they go nickel defense, he plays nickel now. And what does that mean to us? Conversely, hey, they've got 5 D linemen or 3 D linemen and 2 edges in the game. So we're really fortunate to get to go against that stuff every day. And it's a great tool for us to, at the 100, 200, and 300 level, be able to help our guys with details relative to plays. Hey, here's some indicators about what the coverage could be or what it may be, where pressure's coming from. But yeah, they got a lot going on for sure, but it's only made us better, and it's something that we're certainly appreciative to deal with every day and not just getting ready for an upcoming opponent.
In the tight end room, of course, Michigan has a headliner in Colston Loveland, someone who, at least in the preseason, is the odds-on favorite to win the Mackey Award as the nation's best tight end. He is someone who Coach Steve Kasula says is playing even faster, even better than he did in the spring. Elsewhere in the room, Marlon Klein is someone who's been talked up a lot, someone who actually Colston Loveland coaches, teammates say is probably the most athletic tight end in the room, if you can believe that. In a room that contains Colston Loveland, Coach Kasula talked about recruiting Marlon Klein and about seeing him as a recruit, that blend of size and speed that could make him a special talent this fall.
Yeah, so I think Marlon committed sometime during the fall of 2020, if my memory serves me correct. So Coach Moore was actually the tight end coach that Mark committed to. And I remember the first time I watched him, I was just taken aback by the mountains in the background at where he went to school, and then B, I'd never seen somebody at that age, at that size, run the way he did. He displayed early in his high school career real deal, high-end physical traits. I remember there was a clip on either his junior or senior highlight film where he's running down someone that had made an interception, and you're whoa, he didn't have the ball. It wasn't he ran someone down and chased him and caught him on a pursuit play, and it was a wow moment. watching the guy run. Yeah, you could tell high-end physical traits for sure.
And finally, in the tight end room, a couple names to keep an eye on. Coach Kasula named two. He named Jalen Hoffman, a former walk-on and is a redshirt freshman this fall, and named Zach Marshall, who himself is entering his second year with the program, as two players who have had excellent fall camps. Two names to potentially keep an eye on later in games, or maybe for the back halves of their careers.
Yeah, so fall camp's always a great opportunity here for guys to really develop, grow, make a name for themselves. We have an old saying here, this is a meritocracy, shall be known upon your talents and efforts. And so there's an ample opportunity for that. I think two guys that have really had outstanding fall camps and have grown and developed, and it's not just fall camp, but it's the off-season cycle as well. Zach Marshall and Jalen Hoffman have really done well, and they've turned heads, and when called upon, they've made the most of their opportunities, and they've really had good camps.
That's going to do it for this press conference wrap-up. For myself, Alejandro Zuniga, and everyone over at the Michigan Insider, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube, subscribe over at michigan.247sports.com for plenty of behind-the-scenes access to the Michigan football program. Until next time, talk to you then.